Hello and welcome to the Forces Sports Show, which this week comes from Sydney at the start of the 4th Invictus Games, coming up in the next half hour. The UK team grab an early medal and put on a strong display in cycling and sailing. We take a longer look at a handful of UK competitors who are ready to shine down under.
Away from the Invictus Games, the Kentish Cup is cancelled. The Dutch military players pull out at the 11th hour. UCAF will now play a one-off game with the French instead. And getting your bearings right, the Forces Orienteering League is up and running in a forest near you.
Here in Sydney, the 2018 Invictus Games are well underway. After a glittering opening ceremony, the hundreds of athletes, including the 72-strong UK team, are already in action. Here's what's happened so far. 12 medals so far for the UK team after 2 days of competition. 7 of those are gold and came at the cycling, where the Brits dominated the track. This success included a 1-2-3 in the men's road bike IRB2 time trial. Steve Seban, Carl Allen Dobson and Wayne Harrod completed the podium lineup in the time trial event.
Awesome, words can't describe. A-team.
And what was that race like this morning?
Hard and painful. The course is quite deceiving, so we're going to have to be quite careful on the crit race on how we manage that and dominate the track.
You've been doing an awful lot of science and kind of training into sort of preparing yourself for this. Yeah. How has it been over the last sort of few months getting ready for Invictus?
Since the trials and since you got the go from May, that's when things started stepping up. So if you weren't that disciplined, like I wasn't until then, so yeah, you got to really look into your nutrition, your training and your hours and making sure you fuel your body properly just to perform for that one event, which the three of us has planned for the last year.
The gold goes to Michael Swain. He has crushed the field.
Elsewhere, His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex presented a gold medal to Michael Swain in the men's handbike IHB2 time trial. It was the first of 2 golds, as Swain took the criterium title too. There were also top spots for Andrew White and Debbie O'Connell in the IRB3 criterium and women's recumbent criterium.
Over the moon. The spirit in the team has been amazing today. It's a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest with you. And Team GB are just doing so well at the moment. We've just literally just raked in all 3 gold, silver and bronze for the IRB2 as well. So what a day already. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Absolutely amazing. It was a really fast course. I enjoyed the warm-up on it, and then when we hit the race, the crowd's been amazing. And it was really exciting, really exhilarating.
Meanwhile, in the sailing, the home team, Australia, were very strong in the water, with a first-place finish in the Elliott 7 class and a silver and bronze in the Hansa 303 class, which was won by France. As the royal couple cheered on the competitors, the UK team failed to medal.
Oh, golly, not good for Spencer Bull.
But it was a good day on the water nonetheless.
The competition was fantastic. The backdrop, as you've said, who gets to sail in Sydney Harbour with such a backdrop? The bridge and the Opera House. The competition's been fantastic, all the rest of the teams. It's been a real sort of community effort.
We feel like celebrities. We're just so honoured to be in this bay. There's helicopters, yachts. Wow, what an experience.
And meeting world champions and the world best sailor as well.
Yeah, like the world best sailor has signed our hats and they're in awe of us. And it's just, wow, we've only sailed this year and we've only sailed together as a team twice before. So I think we raced the best race we possibly could.
All action now moves to Sydney Olympic Park, where the rowers and sitting volleyball players are competing on day 3. With the games a near sellout, it's certainly the place to be. Joe Dilnut injured his shoulder while serving in Afghanistan 5 years ago. He suffered chronic pain ever since, as the injury failed to heal. He was persuaded by his wife to get involved in athletics and, along with fellow Invictus athlete Andy Carlton, he trains at Loughborough University under the watchful eye of one of GB's top Paralympic coaches, Joe McDonnell.
Normal warm-up, drills over hurdles and then we'll get going.
You had a shaving haircut.
I needed a haircut. I looked like a sheep last week. 15 seconds. Go! Push, get them in. Just slowly push through, which is good, well done. Nice work.
I knew the benefits of sports recovery from going on a couple of Help for Heroes events previously, but I didn't understand the effect that it has on people until I started doing it.
Push that heel back into that block.
I think I've changed completely as a person again.
Good, that's nice, that's nice.
My family members and closest friends have said they've seen a real change in me. I've put weight back on that I'd lost drastically. Yeah, I'm a happier person, more talkative, a bit more back to my normal self.
You're really starting to pick up what that start should feel like and look like.
I hadn't run for about 4 years until I went to Sports Fest and then thought, yeah, I want to give this a go. I came to an Invictus training camp in, I think it was January here. Ran for the first time in 4 years. I mean, it's agonising. That's because the sling I had at the time was terrible. I just really enjoyed it. Started coming here regularly training, and yeah, just gone from there. Baby steps, I think, but training 2 or 3 times a week with a world-class coach and some phenomenal athletes is, yeah, it's amazing.
Go! Snap, 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 come on. Good. What he's learning is probably more about coping with situations, although he's learning very, very quickly on the track. By the way, from where he was to where he is, he's done an incredible job. But you can see with Joe that every time he comes and does a session and he learns something new, there's that little 1% of confidence that goes into that changes what he does and how he handles situation.
Most looking forward to competing. Love pushing myself and to see where I'm at compared to other people with similar injuries to me. I've got a bit of an odd injury. Not many people tend to just have a problem with one arm and nothing else. Well, brain doesn't really come into it for classifications. To see where I'm at compared to other people with similar issues. What I'm not looking forward to is, with my brain, I really struggle with crowds, all the noise. So all the attention that's going to be on us, the spotlight, really going to struggle with that. But I've got ways and means of coping with that. Luckily, my wife knows how to spot when my brain's starting to go bad, and she's taught a few of the people that will be around me how to deal with that. How was that? Transition, all right.
Amazing.
I refer to her as my safety blanket. If she's there, it's okay. I would say I don't do emotion, but I nearly cried when I was interviewing me, so I can't say that.
Naomi Adey will be making her Invictus Games debut here in Australia. The former RAF servicewoman is competing in 5 events as sport continues to play a key role in her recovery. The athletics specialist trains at the University of East Anglia in Norwich.
I served 14.5 years in the Royal Air Force as a survival equipment fitter. I was medically discharged in 2014 due to a spinal injury and mental health condition. When you get told you're being medically discharged, you don't go back to work. So I felt very lonely. My house became my safe place, and that actually exacerbated my mental health condition, and it just was a complete whirl of emotions and your brain working against you. When the first games happened in London, it was obviously an amazing thing to sit at home and watch and go, you know, this is really cool, this is really good, but at that time I was still very much in a dark place and still very much that I can't do that, you know, that there's nothing round here for me. The light switch went on at Toronto when they said they were potentially going to do para ice hockey. So yeah, I did a bit of research and found out that the local team to me is in Peterborough, and then started playing para ice hockey, and it changed my life. It's the reason, you know, why I'm sat here today doing an individual sport, because it gave me that confidence to push myself. And know that, you know, I can do anything that I've set my mind to. Vest is my daughter and wants to run the world and change things. She definitely is my inspiration to, you know, be me and show other mums out there that, you know, you don't just have to be a parent, you know, you can do all these different sports or employment because it does fit. The great thing about wheelchair racing, for me, it gives me that sense of freedom and relaxation to kind of clear my mind. You want to get faster and you want to beat that next person, and it kind of gives you back that kind of drive. I definitely feel in the best shape that I've been in a while, and actually that's kind of made my condition and my mental health improve, and it's quite nice to sometimes have bigger biceps than some of the men. But yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Danny Shanahan joined the army at the age of 16 and spent 11 years abroad on operations. For him, the armed forces wasn't just a career, it was a way of life. He planned to spend another 15 years serving, so when his medical discharge came about in 2016, just before his 40th birthday, he was devastated. However, through the Invictus Games, he has learned to accept his mental health and hopes he can inspire others to come forward.
I went to the first training camp, which was an archery session, and I ended up driving there on the Saturday. I was supposed to be there the Friday night, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't leave my house. So I turned up on the Saturday morning and just sat in the car park thinking this isn't right, it's not what I'm going to do. But I looked around the car park and there was other people sat in the cars probably thinking the same. It was just surreal. So I sort of plucked up the courage, went inside, and as soon as I walked in, the banter and the camaraderie just kicked off straight away, and it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I thought, right, this is it, So I volunteered for another training camp, which was a sit-in volleyball. When it comes to trials, competed in the 2 events and selected for both. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, to be honest. And all the time I've been away on operations and geared up, I've always been with a team. You're always together, looking after each other and the banter flowing and everything else. But unfortunately, when I went to Oman for 18 months, I was on my own. I was working alone, living alone, and that's when the mental health started to hit me. I really become really recluse and just started thinking about everything that had happened on tours and really wishing I was back on the tours, sort of getting a guilt factor about the guys that didn't come back. It wasn't good, unfortunately. A lot of anger sort of started coming up, a lot of issues. Where I'd been really strong and physically fit, a physical training instructor for 17 years of my career as well, doing all my sports, my boxing, my running, everything just sort of dropped off. I didn't train, I didn't eat. Didn't notice the sort of symptoms that were hitting me, really. So when it come to the press release of the Invictus Games team being selected by Help for Heroes, we're in London, of course it went to press. My family and friends started to find out that it was mental health. So I had sort of a 12-hour sort of battle with myself to phone people up and say, yeah, that's what happened. But without Help for Heroes and the other team members, I wouldn't have been able to come forward and say, look, this is the real reason why I'm out. And it's helped me so much because I can sit here today now and say, yeah, I've got mental health problems. And if I can inspire one more person to come forward, then that's a gold medal for me. That's really what I want to do. I always thought that as soon as I come out with mental health, the people are sort of, I don't know, give you the cold shoulder, turn away from you, switch off and stuff, but not at all. They still treat me as though I'm Danny. And that's the best bit for me. I'm still Danny, I'm still there, and I'm still fighting. So yeah, it's changed my life, definitely.
That's it from me for now. Let's go back to the Forces Sports Show studio.
A big story away from the Invictus Games in Sydney. The UK Armed Forces football team won't be defending their Kentish Cup title. This year's tournament has been cancelled after late withdrawal of the Dutch military. UCAF were set to face them and the French team in the annual three-way tournament at the end of the month. The Kentish Cup is the oldest military football competition dating back to 1921. UCAF were hoping to win a record fourth successive cup against the Dutch and French teams, which was due to take place at the end of October in Fontainebleau. But the Dutch have withdrawn at the last minute. They've not given any reasons, but it's thought to be around player availability. For the past 12 months, the UCAF team have been preparing for this tournament with high-profile games, including against the German army. This has left UCAF head coach Flight Sergeant Nick DeLong and his team very disappointed.
We were craving the opportunity to go to Paris and win a fourth Kentish Cup. We're sportsmen and we love winning, and that Kentish Cup has become so important for the best of the free services footballers. But I think probably from a historical point of view, that's a trophy that's been ongoing for a long time, and we get it. We are not professional. So there are challenges operationally at times, but we've managed to get through most of those challenges over the Telic Inherit campaign. We are disappointed.
It's particularly disappointing for the players, as this tournament would have been so close to the commemorations marking the 100th anniversary of the end of the Great War. Instead, the French have agreed to play a one-off commemorative match on October the 30th in Fontainebleau, which UCAF will now focus on.
With 100 years of the commemoration of the Great War, let alone the football, the privilege the lads are going to get to actually do that in a partner nation is a one-off opportunity.
It's hoped the Kentish Cup will be back on the international military football calendar in 2019. To rugby, and the Royal Navy's star back row forward Sam Matavesi has been called up to play for Fiji in the upcoming autumn internationals. Matavesi, a logistician based at RNAS Coldrose, who plays for the Cornish Pirates, made his Navy debut last year. He was controversially sent off for a headbutt in this year's Army-Navy match at Twickenham. He already has 3 Fiji caps. They play Scotland, Uruguay and France in November. The Bloodhound project, combining military and civilian engineering to build the fastest car in the world, has been put into administration. The project is £25 million short of what it needs to get to South Africa next year to make an attempt on becoming the first land-based vehicle to reach 1,000 miles an hour. Military technicians play key roles in the project. Bloodhound is also piloted by Royal Air Force Wing Commander Andy Green. The organisers of the project have appealed for any serious investors to come forward. Now, 300 orienteers, both serving veterans and civilians, have got together for the latest round of the Military League South. It's one of more than 20 meetings they have each year, aiming to be the best in a sport that's also highly important as a military training skill. Nearly every week, hundreds of competitors take part in military leagues up and down the country, making orienteering one of the biggest participation sports in the forces. Here at Hawley, there are 5 different courses, ranging from the yellow course for novices over 3.5 kilometres to the 9-kilometre brown course for the more experienced. This man, Colin Dixon, has been at the centre of Army orienteering for more than 3 decades. Even though now retired, he rarely misses an event, either as an organiser, planner or competitor.
There's generally 20 plus major league events each year, and it's every week basically. Hawley is a particularly popular area because it's got a diverse area. It is also very quick, and the map is of a very good standard.
The value of this sport, which is classed as military training, is obvious. Map reading and cross-country running are a great combination, but the fastest runners don't necessarily make the best orienteers.
You need to be able to read a map to know where you are and where you need to be. Physical fitness helps because it is about the man or the lady who can move fastest across the ground. And I think you need to, I'm not very good at this, but you need to maintain a certain level of concentration, because the moment you lose your concentration, you become disconnected from the map and you end up lost.
Among those checking in to compete today, a big group of trainee officers from the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, all hoping they'll be amongst the best.
Orienteering from an officer cadet perspective, it is crucial. If you can run fast and navigate and have that mental agility that orienteering brings to you, it sets you up well for your service wherever you might be, whatever corps you're going to. And orienteering at Sandhurst has always been very popular. And to be honest, it's down to the hard work of Colin. 16 years ago, the reason I'm standing in front of you running orienteering at Sandhurst is I started myself. First time I'd ever picked up an orienteering map.
It gives the soldier and the other runners, it gives them an opportunity to run. It also gives them an opportunity to navigate, and it also gives them that very important decision making under pressure, on the move.
This is also a sport where both young and old, some in their 80s, come together, with local civilian clubs welcome to join the military orienteers, some who've only been doing it for a matter of months.
It's good to get outside, practice navigation techniques and, again, general fitness. I didn't expect that many people to come out here and travel, up to an hour and a half on a Wednesday afternoon to do the sport.
I've definitely found just these few times like I've really started to pick up on some new skills and learning some do's and don'ts of the sport.
This is early season for the Military League, which runs right through until May. The Royal Signals Women and Royal Logistic Corps Men were the Army Inter-Corps winners last year, but competition is fierce to win the titles in a sport that runs and runs throughout the year. And finally, let's head back to Sydney and Kath Brazier at the Invictus Games.
It's been a great start to the Games, and we've got so much more to look forward to over the next few days of competition, including 2 days of swimming, and we get to see those powerlifters in action. The wheelchair sports will of course lift the roof again, and then 2 days of athletics where hopefully there'll be a wealth of medals for the UK team. Next week's show will be packed with plenty of action, but first let's show you a few images from our first few days in Sydney.
It's your job to cheer them on and share their stories. It's your responsibility to make sure your children know how amazing these guys and girls really are. Show the world what Game On Down Under really means.